Dr. Gerard K. ONeal was a scientist that studied physics and astronomy in the mid to late 20th century. He first published his book, The High Frontier: Human Colonies in Space, in 1976. His remarkable work explained how human colonization of space was already achievable by the technological level of the time. Dr. ONeal wrote about the dream of space colonization and how that dream could be made into a reality. His vision is even truer now today than it was then, though his ideas have yet to be brought to life. Hideo Kojima, creator of the Metal Gear series and currently involved in his Death Stranding series, first produced his game Policenauts in 1994, nearly 2 decades after The High Frontier was published, and drew heavily from it for inspiration. Policenauts is a game that has a very similar plot to that of Lethal Weapon, but for the most part taking place on a space colony called Beyond Coast. Beyond Coast is designed as a space colony described in The High Frontier, an ONeal Cylinder, a massive cylindrical colony which rotates to produce artificial gravity and uses immensely large mirrors to redirect sunlight into the habitat. The scale of the ONeal Cylinder, or the Island 3 as ONeal called it, is massive, and is capable of supporting an equally massive amount of human life. The Island 3 could, as ONeal estimated, be nearly 20 miles long, 4 miles in diameter, and have a total land area of 500 square miles, capable of supporting a population of several million people. Of course, as ONeal reasons, these weren't to be the first colonies. As the name suggests, these were the 3rd generation colony type, the penultimate massive colony type that most efficiently uses its size in sustaining a human population. Beyond Coast in many ways is quite an accurate representation of the ONeal Cylinder. It has the proper size, shape, features, and even most of the fundamental physics behind the colony, as well as having an accurate representation of how many people could populate such a colony. However, Kojima glossed over many details and actually distorted some of the features of the colony for the sake of drama, as well as stated many limitations which our understanding of has since changed. Rather than touch on the ones done for the setting alone, such as how ONeal cylinders are supposed to be paired in order for them to maintain a steady aim for their mirrors towards the sun using the colony's rotation, this will address the ones Kojima used essentially as an argument against space colonization, their big 3 concerns: the human mind, radiation, and gravity. Kojima frequently brings up in Policenauts the artificiality of Beyond Coast. Of course, space colonies are man-made, that's a given. However, how the human mind perceives such a construct and what it contains inside of it is a different matter altogether. Beyond Coast is shown as essentially a single giant space city. It has plant life, but only sparsely. Humans dream of returning to Earth, or home as the people on Beyond call it, seeing the natural world and being able to reconnect with nature. However, the Island 3 as ONeal conceived it is nothing like that at all. It is, in itself, an entire encapsulated world. A colony as large as an ONeal Cylinder can sustain an entire working ecosystem. It is large enough for clouds, large enough for trees, even mountains. Entire forests can flourish, wildlife can thrive, birds can fly, and rivers can flow. It is truly a new Earth. The supposed mass psychological issues created by the lack of these features are, in reality, imaginary, since there isn't a lack at all. ONeal conceived the design in such a way as to prevent such issues. These aren't supposed to be temporary apartments in space, they're supposed to be the permanent homes for the future of mankind. Radiation, as Policenauts mentioned, is definitely an issue with space travel, even today. The amount of shielding needed to be installed in vessels in order for astronauts to be totally secure ends up being very mass-intensive, which is troublesome with space vehicles which have to be launched from the Earth's surface. However, a massive space colony like Beyond Coast shouldn't have that issue for those inside of it. It is well shielded by its very own atmosphere. Even at 50% of the Earth's sea level pressure, the air within the cylinder, alongside its frame, windows, and soil, would serve as adequate shielding against cosmic rays. Policenauts show that solar radiation causes its problems with organ failure. Even child conception has to be done on Earth due to problems with developing the embryo on the colony. There are admittedly still concerns about solar flare radiation bursts and other periodic high radiation events in regards to space travel. These, however, are being studied in depth by the government and private organizations worldwide, and our understanding of the problem as well as the solutions increases daily. Zero-G, or microgravity conditions, do have a profound effect on the human body. Bone density and muscle mass both decrease due to the lack of gravity, which can result in major health concerns if in prolonged low-gravity conditions. Even on the International Space Station, where the crew performs intensive exercises daily to try to maintain muscle mass, Those who return to Earth after being in space for an extended period of time will have lost some of their muscle mass. However, what is remarkable about a space colony like Beyond Coast is that it has artificial gravity through its rotation. Those inside the colony wouldn't experience low gravity conditions. As long as they're not on the rotational axis, those who work in space around the colony, assuming they don't spend tremendous amounts of time outside of the colony, shouldn't experience issues as well. Those who create the colonies in the first place, however, may be a different matter. Universities and organizations are studying how to reduce muscle atrophy in space in order to prevent health issues. Kojima paints a somewhat bleak view of space colonization, presenting the future of mankind as a species as one tied eternally to our planet Earth. Kojima, however, does this with great dramatic intent, and science has moved on the past 3 decades, taking great strides in our understanding of space. With NASA planning to return to the moon for its Artemis program, the future seen in The High Frontier seems to be closer today than ever before. Regarding that it's already been a decade since Beyond Coast would have been finished by this point in time, the unoptimistic view of Hideo Kojima's Policenauts looks to forever remain an entertaining piece of science fiction.